Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Hot Seat Interview. I am your host, Leo Brady, film critic with AMovieGuy.com, and I am here today with two people that I think I can say this properly. They are climbing the ranks in the horror genre. They are turning out just unbelievable work, and we are here today to talk about their new film, Little Bites. This is director Spider and lead star Krsy Fox. Thank you both for being with me here today.
Thanks for having us.
This is so awesome. So I love to start this segment by asking a question that really is a good generator of like getting people talking about like why they love movies, why they got into it in general. But the question is, what movie or movie experience comes to mind that made you say, I want to be a director or I want to be an actor in cinema?
Who starts?
Let's go Spider.
Okay. I mean, it's difficult to pinpoint because from the youngest age I can remember, have always been obsessed with movies, music, comic books, television. I mean, I don't know if I equate it to growing up in a town where there wasn't that much to do, and that was my window to the world, that there was more out there. But I do know specifically what made me start thinking about movies beyond just something to entertain you for a couple hours.
Yeah.
And it oddly wasn't a movie. It was as a young kid watching Siskel and Ebert. I'm old enough to remember when they had their public access show or public television show, and I would watch it. And I was like, wow, here's like two guys talking about movies in a way I'd never heard anyone talk about movies, about character development, about plot, and so it really got me thinking about film in a different way. And I was a huge science fiction fan as a kid. So I think when Star Wars came out, that's what I started also to like look at my toys differently. I was like, oh, I would like set up scenes, and little did I know I was blocking out a movie. So I think there's like all these those influences. A really young kid just got stuck in me and have never left. I still feel the same exact way.
Yeah, that's awesome. Krsy, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I had a similar experience. I mean, I'm from Vancouver Island and I'm in Canada, and it's, in the town I'm from, it's like you'd have to drive hours north to get, and there is nothing.
Yeah.
So, I remember early on, I was walking home from school, like elementary school, and I found like a booklet of CDs that had like all this crazy music, had like, Marilyn Manson and Body Count and all this stuff. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. I wouldn't be allowed. My mom would never buy me this. And I found it. So, and then it was sort of the same with film. I got really obsessed with watching horror movies. And I talked about this earlier, sort of like the first time I saw the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like I knew I shouldn't have been watching it. Yeah. And I was traumatized by it, but I wanted to watch it again right away. And kind of nothing made me feel that way. And then I started diving into movies like The Craft or Scream. I was so young. And I felt like, oh, like, I think this is a world I want to live in. And yeah, the girls from The Craft, I was like, finally, some people I'd want to hang out with in high school, it's just so that was really like and then I just seeing, I wanted to be an actor since as long as I can remember, probably 5 years old.
Right.
But there wasn't a lot of opportunity where I was from. And I was kind of always told that, you have to know somebody, you can't just do that. And so I'm one of those people, if I'm told I can't do something, then I have to do it. Yeah. And so that was sort of my mission. And, I've been so lucky to now, I've gotten to work in all different genres, but getting to be immersed in the horror genre is something that I loved for so long that sort of made me want to do this in the first place. Is so exciting.
Yeah. Well, and two, for both of you, again, a lot of these questions will be for both of you, but like Spider, you obviously wrote and directed this. Krsy, you're one of the producers on the film and obviously the star. But tell me, sort of both of you, where this idea for this film came from, and like what was sort of the inspiration behind making a movie that's basically about motherhood.
Yeah, I mean, more generally, I guess it's about parenthood,
Yeah.
and I think, being a parent, and we have a child together. And so it really, like, I think like all great stories, they start from a personal place. And certainly this is the most personal thing I've ever dealt with. Just just dealing with that sort of, trying to protect a child at any cost, and you live in a world that is certainly at best hostile most of the
Right.
time.
Right.
The judgment of others, the outside, institutionalized judgment, societal, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But wrapping it in the horror package and being able to represent those real life struggles. Sorry, there's a cat fight. Those real life struggles with with a monster as
Right.
you're an allegory. It's really exciting, and to me, that's the most fun way to tell stories. And that's the history of horror and science fiction is always been about that.
Yeah.
Talking about things that might be a little uncomfortable to face, but you represent it in a fantastic way, and it becomes really exciting when you
Yeah.
tell a story.
Yeah. Yeah, well, too, for you, Krsy, I mean, like the character of Mindy, I mean, she's this mother doing all that she can. Might not be a hard stretch for you, but in a role of like, is there a certain mindset you have to put yourself into for playing this character? Because, because it's kind of a dark descent, right? I mean, that's kind of hard to sort of put your mind in that place. You don't always want to be there. How did you really prep for this role?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, a lot of it came from a honest place. I always was, in the back of my mind, I was always thinking, about my daughter and about how I, I'm the worst helicopter parent anyway, and just like how I would just literally do anything for her. And if she was put in a position like this, and it was really kind of, you really have to like give yourself to this character. It was really sad knowing that this character is always having the best of intentions and loves her daughter so much, and everybody is coming at her telling her that she's not good, she on drugs, she's not good enough, calling CPS on her, like
Right.
just there's all, and so it got to be like I always felt like I was being attacked. I was very like lost in this character, and I'm like, how can these people be, but that's real life. I think that the underlying message in this film is like you don't really know what's going on with somebody all the time, and maybe you should give people a break or give them the benefit of the doubt,
Yeah.
or reach out a hand and see if they need your help, which is sort of where, not to spoil anything, but sort of where Heather Langenkamp's character came into the film. And it was the first time that someone was sort of kind to her.
Yeah.
And it really made a difference. You know what I mean? And I think that that's sort of beautiful, whether you're a parent, whether you struggle with addiction, whether you're in an abusive scenario. I think just having one person out there that just actually cares and, is there or reaches out to you and asks if you're okay, it can go a long way rather than just judging you and assuming things.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that part. And I love that sort of just note to the entire movie, because there is a lot of times where you as a parent can't say anything, but you are going through a struggling moment, and you hope people will understand, right? Uh
Yeah, I mean, that was interesting as an actor playing that, because you normally when, you're like, okay, you're really sad in this moment and you cry. But I think the thing with Mindy is she's always holding it in all the time. She's always trying not to cry. She's always trying not to be angry. She's always trying not to be afraid. And I think that was really interesting and cool to
yeah.
play.
Yeah, well, and Spider, for you too. I mean, for people that may not know this, your brother also is obviously in the horror movie genre, and he works in that way. Is there a little bit of competitive streak between the two of you now that you've had three movies in 3 years in a row? Do the two of you say like, "Hey, man, why the hell did you have to go and one up me and make that
Uh,
and make that creepy movie?" Or
I mean, not on my end. So no, I mean, and you'd have to ask him that question, but I don't think so. I mean, I think look, there's enough to go around, but
yeah,
and I think we have very different aesthetic approaches to what we do. I mean, there's some similarities, I suppose, but I think they're fundamentally kind of very different filmmakers. So
yeah,
I don't feel like a direct, you know, like creative competition or anything like that. No, I certainly don't feel that way at all. I mean, I cheer on his successes, and hopefully he cheers on mine, and who knows where it'll lead.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and to Krsy, I mean, you already sort of mentioned it. There is sort of a holy trinity of female horror actors in this movie. Barbara Crampton, Bonnie Aarons, and Heather Langenkamp. I mean, talk about just sort of being able to be amongst the three of them. You're kind of like creating your own little path now too, and that's kind of amazing. And I think that it says something, right? But to be with those three ladies, what does that mean to be in a movie with the three of them?
I mean, it's amazing. And I think the cool thing about like the horror community that I feel like even the fans are aware of this is like we're all very supportive of each other.
Yeah.
And then, you know, over the, you know, more recent years, I'm very close friends with Bonnie and Barbara and now Heather.
Yeah.
Um, and we sort of have this community of horror actresses that we get together every month and we like you celebrate each other's successes. So when it came down to this movie, I I personally, and this is something like, you know, obviously ultimately Spider and I have to decide on these things together, but I was like, I think that we need to have some real horror names in here, but I want to see them cast in roles that you've never seen them play. And that was exciting. And also the fact that it's 3 women in horror was extra special to me. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's funny just working with them, like, you know, they both, all 3 of them come with so much experience that they all kind of give you something different. You know, I was nervous about having to hate Barbara because Barbara's a very unhateable person.
Right.
And she came on set and just brought it the whole day. And she made it very easy for me to get super pissed at her. And I was like, well, cool. If I was ever mad at you, I got it all out now. I can't ever imagine getting mad at Barbara.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Heather is just someone with such like a kind heart. You kind of get lost in her eyes. She's a very emotional person. She responds to people very emotionally. And so doing that scene with her, it was sort of nice because like I said, it was the only time that someone was sort of nice to my character in the movie. And she just has this quality that you can't teach. It just is. She's a star, you know. And then Bonnie is someone, you know, my very first film I ever directed, Bonnie was in it. And we've been friends for a really long time now. And we always wanted her to play my mother in something.
Yeah.
And so when this movie came along, I was like, you know, because Bonnie, you know, she often plays a lot of these scarier characters, and it was
Right.
like I wanted to see her have a role that was a little different than something I've ever seen her play.
She's still a little scary in this
She
movie.
is a little. I mean, everyone's mother is a little scary. Let's be
Yeah.
honest.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There's still a little bit of an overbearing mother that we all
Yes.
kind of can hear in the back of our head there.
Absolutely.
Totally.
All right. Well, they're telling me to wrap up. Spider-1 and Krsy Fox, thank you so much. Little Bites will be in theaters this weekend, October 4th. Congratulations on this film. I loved it. I can't wait for everybody else to see it.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
your time.
Yeah. Take care, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.